Good morning, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Onegaishimasu. I hope everyone is well. I'm going to read Shukshu number 10 this morning, Principle of Non-Dissension. There's no conflict in the absolute universe. Conflict arises only in the relative world. If we are to lead others, we must unify mind and body and practice the principles of the universe. Do not say that this is a world of survival of the fittest, where the stronger prey upon the weaker. The true way to peace is exactly the same as the principle of non-dissension. So, Toi Sensei taught us that when you stand up for the presence of something. You never stand up for the absence of something. This is the meaning of non-dissension. Non-dissension does not mean you never stand up. It means you only stand up for something. You never stand up for nothing. You know, people think that, well, for instance, people think that relaxation can only exist when there is no tension. This is wrong. People think that peace can only exist when there's no war. This is wrong. Or that harmony can only exist in the absence of conflict. This is impossible. The world we live in is made of conflict. When you fight against something, you are the problem. You make yourself part of the problem. When you fight, if you must fight, fight for something, and then you're part of the solution. It's like someone at a board meeting giving a suggestion what others should do, you know, and not taking responsibility. If you don't have a positive suggestion, don't say anything. Didn't your mommy tell you that? My mom told me, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. Okay, so that's the principle of non-dissension if you really look at it. Okay? So really, we're here to support each other. And each other means everybody. And many, many people are in a state of disarray and filled with conflict, filled with dissension, filled with distrust, filled with anger. And yes, war. But does that mean we fight against them? Is that the way? And that's not the way to union with Key of the universe. That's not what we're practicing. So a clear understanding of this is very important. I know people, you know, I see people standing with signs. That's great, as long as your sign says you're for something. If the sign says you're against something, then you are part of the problem. You are not part of the solution. And I know people don't always understand this because they're not taking into account that darkness is not a thing. It doesn't exist. It's the absence of something. Darkness is the absence of light. You cannot chase away darkness. You cannot fight darkness. You become darkness. Fighting is the absence of light. Yes? This is the principle of non-dissension. Just shine the light of your awareness on whatever it is. And there is no darkness. It's as if it was never there. very important part of our practice. Okay, let's begin with some. Keep breathing. So I said, when someone thinks that a harmony can only exist when there is no conflict, that people are wrong. When I say wrong, I mean they just don't know what they're doing. They don't understand. Wrong isn't bad. Wrong just means, like Toy Sensei would always say, wrong means when you want to go south, but you're going north. That's wrong. It's not bad. And then when you realize that south is that way, and then you turn around and you start going south. As long as you're in the process of going where you mean to be going, then you know what you're doing. You're not wrong. I hope you see how this applies to the spirit of non-dissension. So I'd like to hear someone comment about this, or if you have a question, that's fine too. I guess you like it better when I call on you. So,
Hi, it's Phoenix, actually.
Phoenix, thank
Good
you.
morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm just thinking of this directly in terms of what you were talking about before with respect to turning things inside out, right? About thinking that, you know, that we have to be on one side or the other, like either right or wrong or one thing or the other is it, when that's missing the whole point. Very hard to figure out how to do something with that, but at least it begins to, I want to hear more about it. I'm just trying to see how those connect. Thank you.
You know, do you folks know about Socrates, the Socratic method? So there's the Socratic method and Socratic dialogue. So this is important in terms of the question you're asking. So the Socratic method is that he would, for instance, he would say something positive about justice. And he would, I mean, he's talking to somebody that is doing an injustice, okay? But he understood that everybody feels they are just in what they're doing. So the Socratic method is to talk to someone in such a way that you help them see that they believe in actual justice too. You don't ever have to tell them that they're wrong. You don't ever have to tell them. No one likes to be told they're wrong. If your sign says you're wrong, you were part of the problem. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's not that you never take a position. Let's see if I can, this is an important distinction because it's exactly what your question is asking. If your life stands for justice, you don't have to stand up for justice. If you stand for the problem, if you stand for lack of justice, no matter what you do, you always, no matter what you say, even though it might be perfectly just, it's still unjust. It's still injustice. We have lots of examples of that in the news today. So it's important if you're a teacher, for instance, when you see the news, to be able to tell right away what is going to help and what is going to harm. And it's not easy because the news people are often confused about this. And not only the people themselves, but then the people that are interviewing people, because it's all people. And if you're a student, then you should be watching to see if you can understand what is the problem and what is the solution. Everybody is just, but not everyone is in touch with justice within themselves. So before you go out of your door, you want to sit very carefully, dive deeply, study thoroughly yourself, and make sure you understand what you're doing. Otherwise, don't do anything. Okay, someone else, please.
Sensei Prakash. So I get caught in the semantics of the word against. You know, the situation currently in America, you know, I'm definitely against police brutality and torture and child abuse. And so when you say, you know, you're holding the position of against, it's like, of course I'm against these things. So I get caught in my mind trying to figure what you're saying there.
Socrates would just ask you, okay, I understand you're against those things. What are you for?
I'm for peace and love and harmony and cooperation and collaboration and
those are the things that will make a difference. Being against other things won't make any difference at all. You will only make it worse. You know, it's like you're getting sucked into the fire, you know, the devil tempts you, as it were. When you find someone with an axe to grind, they want you to be their foil. They're looking for someone because they're only happy when they're in conflict. They're only fulfilled when they're in conflict. So power, people that like power and exercise power, usually indiscriminately, do it, are very happy when you fight against them. Our president is a perfect example. He's thrilled when he gets to insult someone, try to fight with someone. And we're always watching him and wondering, where's the positive? What's your plan? What's the solution here? It's never there because that's not his state of mind. I'm Toy Sensei is teaching us to represent the solution, to be the solution. That's what extend key means. You know, I don't want to say someone's bad because they're fighting against somebody. It's just they misunderstand. That's not useful. That will not lead to peace. You like peace? Go for peace. You like peace? Don't go for war. Don't try to stop someone else, no matter what they're doing. It's just like in the dojo. You don't try to stop someone from moving. You move with them. You become one with them, and then you resolve it together. This is Aikido. You know, I didn't just bring this up randomly. I read Toy Sensei Spirit of Non-Dissension first. If we don't take what we learn in the dojo and apply it to our lives, again, we might not say there that that makes you bad, but maybe wrong if you don't know what you're doing. You know, what you're doing must be useful and supportive and loving and all those things that you stand for or that you like. If you like them, then you stand for them. You don't stand for something else. If you don't like war, you don't go out against something because then you're standing for war. That's what fighting is. It's going against. You see, this is not openly understood in the world and even in our own bodies. You know, I will tell you something, if I may. I have to write a lot of emails, not just in my work, but mostly in Aikido, to people that are looking for an understanding about something. And when I'm writing those kind of emails, or even I'm writing a book, I've written a couple of books, whenever I'm writing, I have to be in a state of non-dissension. And when I say something that is truly not supportive, so something in my body goes, something hurts in the body. So we have to get to where when we think it might be a good idea to go fight with those people because we don't like what they're doing, something in our body prevents us. We have to be that mind-body unified that something in our body prevents us. Something in our mind-body says it goes berserk. It can't deal with that. The body only feeds, the only healthy thing to eat is harmony and love and peace. And when we eat something else, it makes us sick. Is that all right?
Yeah, thank you, Sensei.
If anyone else wants to say anything, I don't mind going a little longer. Reina.
That's it.
Sensei, so when you say you stand for peace and love and all that, then like what does that look like when if you're in the situation where somebody else is abusing somebody else, then what does that look like when you stand for peace and love and all that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Let me just say, do you know the little story about, one of the teachers in Japan used to teach this story. So this is a true story. He was on a subway and a drunk came onto the subway. And this drunk, please be sure you're muted because I keep getting people jumping in on the picture. So this drunk came on the subway and he was starting to abuse people. And this Aikido student who was young thought, oh, chance to use my Aikido. I will take this guy down. And because he's wrong and he's hurting people. And just as he was turning and starting to approach this guy, this little old man came up to the drunk and put his arm around him and started laughing and saying, I see that you really love to drink sake. Me too, I love sake. I have sake with my wife every night. We have a few glasses of sake and we relax and we really enjoy it. It's a wonderful thing. Don't you think so? And by this time they were sitting down and the man had his head on his shoulder and was crying. Okay, that's the answer to your question. That is Aikido, not what the Aikido student was going to do. Now, admittedly, that's very difficult. And that is an as-if situation. And we never, ever know what it's going to be like. Sometimes there's unfortunately nothing to be done. It's out of your hands. Is that okay, Reina? Reina? You disappeared on me.
Hi.
You here? Okay.
Yes, Sensei. Thank you.
Okay. Christoph had his hand raised. Would you like to say something, Christoph?
Dante, thank you for giving me the floor. Hello. No, I'm listening at the discussion, and I think I understand and I agree with what you're saying, but I make a connection with some of the things I read from Toe Sensei. It's the end of his book, The 13 Rules for Disciplinants. It's rule number 9. So it's taught by do not become angry, etc. Be angry only when the rights of nature or of your country are in danger. Then he goes on, concentrate on the one point and become angry all over. Know that he who is easily angered loses courage at important moments. So of course, I see that he's preaching one thing, and is also balancing what is just said by the fact that we can fool ourselves and not be courageous at the right when it's really needed. But why is Toe Sensei, do you think, emphasizing the rights of nature and the importance of the country, please?
Well, I think that we need to stand up for nature.
Okay.
Stand up for our country and for our community and for our family and for our loved ones. We stand up for them. We stand up for nature. And yes, we might even be incredibly passionate and even angry in our body. Our body is inflamed with justice. But like he told me a story. Well, he used to teach this story about himself. He said when he was younger, Toe Sensei said a parent came to him and said, the teacher of our children is using corporal punishment. He's hitting them when he feels they're out of line, and we don't want that. We don't want him to do that. Could you talk to him, please? And he said, I'd be happy to send him to see me. So of course, when the teacher is sent to see Toe Sensei, he's got a chip on his shoulder when he walks in the door. Toe Sensei knows that it's going to be like this. So he comes in and he offers him a cup of tea and talks to him nicely and says, oh, I hear that you believe in corporal punishment. And the teacher says, you're right, I do. When these kids are out of line, you got to slap them a couple of times. That's the only way they're going to get back in line. And Toe Sensei said, oh, I agree with you completely. It's very important to discipline children. Yes, I think that's important. So go ahead and do that. And the guy goes, what? Okay, well, thank you. And he starts to leave and he goes, just a moment. A la Columbo. He says, just a moment. Would you make me a promise? And the man at this point says, anything, whatever you want. He said, just agree with me that you will not ever hit another child when you're feeling anger. And he agreed, and that teacher never hit another child in his life. So that's what he means when he says, don't have anger indiscriminately in you, just for any old reason. Recognize anger. Maybe when that which is justice is being defiled, you become very passionate about justice. But it doesn't mean you turn yourself into your enemy. basically when that teacher was being, when the kids were misbehaving, he felt he was being attacked. So he struck out at them. He fought back. And he's big and powerful, and so they gotta listen. That's the way the countries act. That doesn't mean sticking up for your country. That means fighting with another country. That's not sticking up for your country. That's not representing justice or truth or equality. No, that's the opposite. That's tearing it down.
So does it mean that there is a sense of absoluteness when there's aggression? There's this kind of this level of aggression. There is no discussion, and the only way out, unless we die, is to.
Well, let me put it this way. We are in a world made of conflict. You cannot expect there to be no conflict. There are plenty of people who will fight the other country. I will not represent that as the way. If they ask me to speak, they probably won't, but if they ask me to speak, I would go speak on behalf of justice and equality and truth. And I would hope that I could reach another person that's listening on the other side, and that could begin to lead to some sort of denouement of this problem. I would not take up arms, no matter what. That's sort of my understanding of my life. That's what my life taught me. You know, not just Toy Sensei, but you know, just watch TV one night. There's Toy Sensei's lesson right there. The world is run amok, fighting with each other. Everyone is wrong because no one knows what they're doing. No one, but it doesn't seem to be prevalent. Non-dissension doesn't seem to be prevalent in people's awareness out there. I don't hear it being represented. But, you know, there are famous, like Gandhi, there are famous non-dissension practitioners who were brilliant and passionate and compassionate about it. So we have that too, those kind of people to thank.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you very much. I think we're a little bit past our time, but it was really worth hearing what you had to say. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.